You have people who just come up and jump on. Ah, it's yours.
Yes.
Why now?
I had a girl at Anime Pollution. I wasn't in the at Cousin of Dex, which I was kind of like I went as myself. I wasn't in cosplay. And I had a girl run up to me, and she was a tiny little girl, so it didn't really matter, but she wrapped her arms, and she jumped at me and wrapped her arms and legs around me. And I had an expensive camera on me at the time, so I was worried about the camera. When people sort of jump on you, I usually don't really care, unless I have something breakable on me. Some people really, really, really hate it. Like, it really freaks them right out. So you want to be careful if you're going to do that at any time. But I find at conventions, lots of people, if you go up to them just like, can I have a hug? And they say yes, I mean, no big deal. So it's just all about asking. That's why in a lot of American conventions and Canadian ones, they have this rule that is ask before you glomp or ask before you hug. Because as long as you ask and as long as you're being sort of respectful, it's okay. When I was recovering from my surgery, I went to a convention about 3 weeks after that, 3 weeks post-op. And I was walking down the hallway, and suddenly I heard something scream behind me, and a girl jumped on my back with a baseball bat in her hand. And first of all, I was surprised. Second of all, it hurt like no other. So I turned around and tried to be like, oh, you know, she was like, I love your cosplay. I was like, oh, thank you so much, as I was clenching my chest. And then I hurried back to the safety of my group. And I didn't go outside the group after that. But you just, like, you never really know if somebody's got, like, a bad knee, or a bad chest, or a bad head, or is just really, really mad that day. So, yeah. Like, what I always think is, as long as you ask, it's no big deal. Because as long as you ask, then they're prepared for it.
Didn't Maggie get glomped into a Coke machine a couple of years back?
Coke machine?
Yeah, she got glomped and just like fell back into a vending machine or something.
Yeah. I got glomped into a chair and I fell on top of her computer once, and it broke. So.
People try to glomp me, and I'm more afraid they're going to hurt themselves on my wheelchair than anything else, because it's like big and bulky, and they're just going to run off and go, ah, and then they end up falling on me, and I'm like, I'm kind of small and you're kind of heavy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
Yeah, you like a taser on you.
Some sort of weapon. Just don't come any closer.
I'm in the show, I'm so sure, so maybe I've got a cane or a sword, so it's going to work.
It'd be awesome if you had like this thing that like came up out of your wheelchair, with, like a protected electric net. Right into you, it's like. So that's certainly something to think about for the future, right? All right, no more mic.
Unless you want to.
I'm losing my voice.
Have you ever had to avoid anyone, like, go out your way to dodge them at a convention?
Oh yeah. At a few cons, we've, especially lately, because we used to spend all day in cosplay at conventions, now we change halfway through the day, most of the time, so that we can actually get around and do stuff. One time we actually wound up babysitting a girl. Her mom, essentially, she was hanging out with us, and she's like, oh, can I hang out with you guys for a while? We're like, sure, yeah, and we were walking around. Her mom was with her. Her mom's just like, I'm just going to leave for a while. She was underage, I should mention. She was about 13. Her mom's just like, oh, can you guys look after her? I was like, what? And then she was gone. So we were technically responsible for this young girl for about 4 hours at the convention. Well, more, yeah, it was a long time. Probably more like 6. So she just came with us all day, but that was kind of weird because, again, we were responsible for her. We couldn't just sort of tell her that we were just going to go back to our hotel and leave her. Like, we had to bring her with us. And we got into trouble with our group because, again, we brought a stranger in the hotel, and we sort of agree at conventions that we don't do that. Just because they have so many valuables in the hotel. As for avoiding people, what we will usually do is I don't have an issue with people in general, unless they're being invasive in some way, or unless I'm trying to relax. It's not a big deal. However, if I do want to, I just usually say I need to go back to the hotel, or I need to go to the bathroom for a while. That one doesn't usually work as well. I usually just use that one when I need like a quick breather. But we end up changing out of our cosplays and going sort of covert, where we'll sort of put on casual clothes. It doesn't work with, like, at all. But it's still easier than walking around and being in full cosplay and then being stalked a lot. Because sometimes at conventions, you do just want to have times where you just, you know, skulk around the dealer's room and just sort of lie and vegetate the hallway with your friends. So we usually just say we're going to the hotel. There was a question. There we go.
How do you manage finances in the group? Do you all sort of club together for all the materials if you're doing a group cosplay, or do you all buy your own materials?
Well, the one thing I forgot to mention, so thank you for reminding me on the first part of that, is that a reason to form a cosplay group is that it's like the two heads are better than one type mentality, where if someone is really strong at wig styling and someone is really strong at sewing, you combine together and then you can sort of help each other out on your weak points. And so that is the big advantage of a cosplay group, and it's sort of helping each other out and sort of, yeah, I mean, if one person does one thing and another person does another thing, they should be helping each other out and all that. As for finances, we don't share finances. We'll sometimes help each other out a little bit, but we always make sure to pay each other back for that. For example, Valdrine will usually put hotels on her credit card, because she has a credit card that has space for hotels on it. Her mom makes sure she has that. But again, we pay her back with, you know, cash either up front or afterwards or at some point. And she knows where we live, so it's not like we can cop out on that. As for cosplay supplies, again, you know, if you need something and you can't pay for it at the time, sometimes somebody else will buy it. But we'll pay each other back in other ways. I had my wig for Dragon Ball Z bought by Calibri, but that was because I was styling her husband's Goku wig with the other wig she bought, because she bought them both at the same time, because they were supposed to be matching. So that's sort of the trade-off there. Of course, no one person should be responsible for buying all of something. So financially, yeah, it's got to be shared. Unless somebody's super rich. If you won the lottery and you want to help your brother out, it's all right. Help brother.